Are we all
You're
set
ready
to?
to start.
Here we went. Okay, good. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining. My name is Ryan Singh. I, along with my team members Mayra Gomez, Savie Currency, and Mekhi Brown, are going to present our beautification design for the Mariners Harbor vacant lot. All questions will be answered in the end. In this presentation, we'll be going over the Mariners Harbor history, the site analysis, and the overall design proposal. So the main question is, what is our goal? Our goal is to incorporate a new community-based program within the vacant lot. I'll right now pass it over to Savie as he will explain the Mariners Harbor history.
Hi, good afternoon. So, the history of Mariners Harbor. Mariners Harbor is a neighborhood in northwestern Staten Island that is near the water. The neighborhood is named after the bounty of oysters and other seafood that were harvested. The community is diverse and rich in maritime history and was filled with prominent shipping and dry dock companies in the early 1900s. Mariners Harbor is also known for its stately waterfront homes built in the early 19th century by sea captains who wanted to live near the water. It was called Captain's Row. Some charming older homes still stand along local streets like South Avenue and Merceau Avenue. So, Mariners Harbor has a population of about 25,000 residents. All sections of the neighborhood have a substantial representation of Hispanics, blacks, and whites, with the southern part of the neighborhood having a small Asian population. And these are some graphs going further in detail on the demographics.
So these are the bus stops that are near the vacant lot. We added the locations of the bus stops, which can be found in the images below, so that you can have an understanding of how close the vacant lot is to the bus stops. We also put them so you have an idea of how easily accessible they are. All the bus stops are about 5 to 6 minutes away of walking distance, and some of the available bus stops are the S48, S98, S46, S96, etc. In this slide, my team and I added the names and distances of some of the more known and popular areas within Staten Island. We did this so it's easier for visualization, so you guys can understand the placement of the vacant lot in Staten Island. So we incorporated some of the bridges along with Brooklyn Bridge and the Verrazano Bridge, and we also included some of the popular parks such as Mariners Harbor Playground and the Big Park.
Hi, I'm Myra. These are some of the architectural precedent studies we use to help create our design proposal. This is Good Life Garden, a community garden located in Bushwick, New York. I have actually volunteered at this garden when it was being cleaned up. It now offers arts, culture, and education programming while also addressing the socioeconomic needs of this community. It is now organized and maintained by a group of 10 neighbors. As you can see, the image on the left side is during the process of the cleanup, and on the right side, it is what it now looks like now. This is Industry City by Terrain NYC, located at 581 2nd Avenue in Brooklyn. It is located between two office buildings and is essentially a walkway with surrounding greenery.
Hello, my name is Mekhi Brown. So I also did some president studies as well with the help of the rest of my team. So this community garden that you see is a design by an architect named Mohammed Mubarak, and this community garden is actually outside of the United States. It's in Kuwait, specifically Kuwait City, Kuwait. And the reason my team and I wanted to include this was because just like in the previous architectural president study that my teammate Myra had shown, this design offers a lot of walkway and walk room, and that is something that we really wanted to put emphasis on because we know that when designing any type of space, traffic flow was one of the key components of it. So we wanted to establish, we wanted to find any community gardens that have a lot of walking space, a lot of walk room. As you can see in the images, there is very detailed with various different designs that are intersecting with one another, while also having various walkways within those designs. Now, this community garden is another one. Is we took a lot of the same inspiration from the last community garden, where it has a lot of walkway and a lot of walking space. If you can see the top image, right there, the first one, similar to the past two architectural president studies, this is essentially a walkway with a lot of surrounding greenery. So that way, when visitors come and walk, they could still they're still it's as if they're walking through a forest or a garden. Now, the image below that one, still you get a better look at the spacious feel and spacious vibe of it all. But what stands out to us the most, well, what stood out to us the most was this structure in the middle that resembles a house. We really were intrigued by that because we were inspired by this because of its shape, how visitors could walk through it, and it's kind of as if they're walking through some type of structure while still seeing the plants and greenery and different colorful flowers surrounding it. But we also thought that this could serve as a that we could use this as inspiration to serve as a potential greenhouse for our potential design. Now, this third image that is next to both of these, as you can see, there's a plant that is in a small container above the ground. This is also something that we took inspiration from, just because it has a new layer and a new sense of complexity without being too complex to our design.
So these are one of the main necessities that we think would make like a community garden successful. So some of the things that we want to incorporate as a group into the vacant lot are a raised bed irrigation system as well as composting. So this composting system, it's pretty easy in a sense that you have these bars that you can remove things easily. So that makes aeration and composting way better. I've had previous experience with this, and I feel like this is one of the most effective ways of actually, composting. In regards to the irrigation system, we would kind of want it hidden, so we're gonna have more design aspects of that. But we feel like an irrigation system would make it easier, so the plants could stay on a consistent schedule for watering.
Throughout our design process, we accounted for numerous factors. This is just a rundown of the main three factors we accounted for. First being residents, because we want to make sure to not affect the traffic flow of the area or the residents' lifestyle. Secondly, we factored in safety because we want to make sure that we ensure safety for the public in our design. And lastly, the community, because this is a community engaged project, and we want to make sure to accommodate the community and provide them with what they need and what they're missing. This is just two screenshots of an AutoCAD drawing I created of the vacant lot. It's just supposed to represent the vacant lot and the surrounding area and the blocks near. The green represents the space of the vacant lot and the area in which we will design it.
Okay, so the two images that you see here are two bubble diagrams that my team and I both worked on. This first bubble diagram, that's just the typical black and white pencil, the one that doesn't have any of the color. This was a combination of all of our bubble diagrams. So first we all came up with our own, and when I seen that all of our bubble diagrams were essentially the same, I decided to just compose one bubble diagram that has all of our aspects in it. So we all decided, well, we all in our bubble diagrams had one narrow walkway that's going straight down the middle of the vacant lot. We felt that this was the most simple, most basic, yet still most effective way of controlling the traffic flow. And as you can see on the left and right hand side, we have different sections. So on the right hand side of the walkway, you see that there's a garden area because we do want to implement a garden into our design. And then on the other side, we have a food stand that we're thinking about turning into an event space, and the two corresponding sides on next to that section are eating areas where we're going to turn into a lounge space, just so that way people, when they do come and visit, if they don't want to stand up and walk around and view the garden, they can sit down from afar and still view the garden while being relaxed and lounging with their peers. Now, this second bubble diagram, this was just a concept that my team and I came up with, just an idea. We were just having fun with it of what a more intricate and a more complex design will look like. As you can see, The X's represent the walkway, and though in the wall, as you can see, there's various walkways. There's not just one narrow one. It's just various walkways intersecting with one another, with the garden space divided throughout the rest of the design. And the eating areas are on the side, are all the way at the back, so that way it isn't interrupting any of the traffic flow for the garden. And we felt that that was the best way to, for this intricate design, to establish the traffic flow.
Okay, so this is a more detailed version of our design proposal. As you can see, what Mekhi had mentioned, we have the food stand, the garden area, and the main walkway. These are some isometric views that we created. As you can see, we have the food stands towards the back, the eating areas, like Mekhi had mentioned, towards the back alongside the food stand. The one main walkway, and the white thing you see is like an arc, sort of, kind of like what Mekhi had mentioned, where we took inspiration from his architectural precedence study.
So this slide includes a few photos of some community outreach that has been done. So Ms. Heather Butts has been an avid supporter of the vacant lot and gave great feedback in the early stages of this presentation. With that being said, her nonprofit organization, Health for Use, alongside Assemblyman Charles Fall, made great strides in beautifying the lot in a way that, it was like a 3-part cleanup, which was really good and amazing for the community as a whole. And, be sure to check out the Health for Use Instagram page.
Thanks. Thanks for the shout out.
Okay, so some of our next steps will be, we will continue to work on the design layout with the feedback provided by the stakeholder, and we will continue to research what type of plants or trees would be the best fit for both the garden area and the lot itself. Thank you for listening. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Mayra, do you mind going back to the conceptual design and maybe just have it up as perhaps it could be part of the conversation? Thank you.
If the stakeholders, I just wanted to weigh in because being the director of education in a botanical garden, I just want to avail you as a resource. If you want to learn more about the plantings, you can certainly be in conversation with our director of horticulture. And I also really want to commend you for having composting in the design of an active garden. That is so important. And I love that, especially for environmental sovereignty issues. So I really just want to give you an enormous shout out for making sure that you put composting in there as well as this green environment.
Hello. This is Satanji with Assemblyman Fall's office. This was a wonderful presentation, and it's amazing to see the progress that you guys have made from what you previously sent me up until the designs and the thought process to today. And want to make sure that if there's any ways in which we can work with you all so you can better understand like how involved the community is looking to be in this process, and what sort of commitment do you need from the community in order to maintain what your vision is. That's something that I think we would be helpful in being supportive of, but this was really, really great.
So Tanya, I just have a quick question in terms of, the community involvement and going forward, for the students to get a better idea of that. Would next steps be like talking to the community board? Would it be some sort of a survey? What do you think makes sense for them to kind of get community buy-in for their vision and then think about next steps?
Yeah. So I think, there's a couple of different, ways they can approach this. Is definitely there were community members that were involved in the cleanup that we can connect you with, that, some that kind of spearheaded getting other neighbors involved in, so we can maybe reach out to some of the leaders of the community that helped to get the cleanup going. And then I think there are definitely area community board leaders that would be, grateful to hear what you guys are working on, what your ideas are, and just provide input on, because we did the On the parallel side, I think it's on Union and Van Name is the other lot that, Health for Youths has the little free libraries on. And so that's run by the Friends of Mariners Harbor. So I think even speaking to that organization about what their experience has been in terms of upkeeping that, what agencies they've had to talk to maintain that area, and even just the community support and what they think the maximizing a space like that lot has done for the community in the ways that you guys can also consider that. So I think just using their institutional knowledge from what they did a couple of years back would be really insightful for what the students here are doing. So happy again to facilitate any sort of those conversations, and I can kind of just rewrite that in an email as well.
Yeah, that's a genius suggestion. Susanna Body had also suggested them, and I think especially when we do the further presentations, inviting them to be involved and maybe talking to Manuel makes a lot of sense.
Thank you so much for the feedback. Is there any more questions from anyone?
Maybe question actually. I know one of the youth on here who had spoke about her participation in a previous a lot space that she had helped to clean up and saw how it was being maintained. Is there anything you think that you could use from that experience in your participation in the one? I'm not sure if it was in Brooklyn or where you mentioned it was in the slide, that could be applicable to the Staten Island location?
Hi. Yeah. Now knowing I haven't been to the garden in a few, but now knowing what they do, I definitely would say that kind of sort of involving some sort of program like they have. It's a program called Education for Youth where they bring in a group of elementary kids from a local elementary school, where they're just kind of help them to learn how to garden and also how to compost. So I think that would be something great that we could incorporate into the lot.
That's great. Yeah, PS44 is, not far from there, so that might be a worthwhile conversation to think about with their new principal there too.
And I just want to share, Satanji and everybody else, that PS44 just reached out today with their because we do support school gardens. So the teacher, the faculty member that is in charge of their school gardening, reached out today to talk about how to be able to move some of their work forward at 44. So you're right, Satanji, that alliance is already there and that awareness and concern.
And they also have a lovely Help for Youth Little Free Library. Because they're everywhere.